So let's talk about math. You know, the big four: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. They're basically the foundation of everything, right? But how we learn them, that can make all the difference. Today, we're going to dive into the Montessori approach, where math isn't something you just cram into your brain, it's something you actually experience. I want you to think back for a second. How did you first learn math? I'm willing to bet for a lot of you, it brings up images of flashcards, right? Timed tests, drills, just a bunch of abstract rules on a chalkboard. It was all about getting the right answer and getting it fast. But what if there was another way? You know, a way that swapped out all that anxiety for genuine curiosity. And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's a tale of two philosophies, really. The kind of math you memorize versus the kind of math you're allowed to discover for yourself. So, on one hand, you've got the traditional route, rote memorization. You just learn the abstract rules and the steps, no questions asked. But on the other hand, you have this Montessori idea of hands-on discovery. We're talking about physically feeling how quantities interact. The whole point is to move from just abstract ideas on a page to something real, something concrete. Okay, so how does this whole hands-on discovery thing actually work in a classroom? Well, it all starts with this simple but honestly brilliant tool that's right at the heart of the Montessori math curriculum, the golden beads. The system is just beautifully simple. You've got a single little bead, and that's one. A bar of 10 of those beads, well, that's 10. A flat square made of 100 beads is, you guessed it, 100. And a big cube of 1,000 beads is 1,000. All of a sudden, a number like, say, 1,246 isn't just some symbols you wrote down. It's a real, physical thing you can hold in your hands. You can actually see the quantity. And this is where it gets really cool. With these beads, addition is literally just combining two piles of beads into one. Subtraction? You're just taking a smaller pile away from a bigger one. Multiplication is just making the same group of beads over and over again. And division? Well, that's just the natural act of sharing a big pile of beads equally among your friends. It makes math something you can actually touch and feel. Now, all of this comes together in one of the most beloved activities in a Montessori classroom. It's an activity that turns arithmetic into, believe it or not, a team sport. Yeah, the bank game totally flips the script. Math stops being this quiet, lonely test of your memory. Instead, it becomes this loud, fun, social adventure. It's all about working together to figure things out. So here's the rundown. The kids get to play roles, like they can be bankers or customers. They use these number cards to make requests, and then they exchange them for the actual physical golden beads from the bank. And through this simple game, they're constantly adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, and they're having an absolute blast to doing it. But what does this actually look like when it's happening? Let me tell you a real story from a classroom that just perfectly shows the incredible power of this discovery-based approach. Okay, so here's the scene. A group of kids is given a pretty big addition problem. No pencils, no paper, nothing like that. Just the problem itself and a giant collection of golden beads. And what they do first is it's so beautifully simple. They get all the beads for that first number, they get all the beads for the second number, and they literally just push them all together into one giant pile. They have physically done addition. But then something happens. As they start counting up their final answer, they hit a snag. The single unit beads, no problem. But when they get to the tens bars, they realize they have 13 of them. So what do you do when you have more than 10 tens? And right there, in that moment of confusion, one of the kids has this aha moment. They remember that 10 of those tens bars are exactly the same as one of those flat 100 squares, so they make the trade. And then, suddenly, one of them just shouts with this pure, unfiltered joy, "We carried over." Think about that. They didn't just follow a rule they were told. They discovered a fundamental law of math all by themselves. And that one little story, it perfectly captures the whole philosophy here. It's all about building a bridge from a physical action to a deep, abstract understanding. This whole approach is really built on a few common sense ideas. First, you always start with physical, concrete objects, not weird abstract symbols. You focus on really mastering one operation at a time before you jump to the next one. You use real, simple language like combine and share instead of just plus and divided by. And maybe the most important thing of all, you remember that learning is a discovery. It's a journey. It is not a race to the finish line. And that kind of leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. By just shifting the focus from memorization to genuine exploration, we change the entire question we're asking kids. What if math wasn't some subject you just had to pass, or a test you had to get through, but an entire world, rich and logical and beautiful, just waiting for you to discover?